The ultimatum that changed everything. The bridge of the human exploration vessel Pioneer's Dream buzzed with excitement as Captain Marcus Rivera watched the scanning results flood across his screens. 3 months of deep space exploration had led them to this moment, deep within what the Galactic Authority called Forbidden Zone 7. The massive structure floating before them defied everything they thought they knew about ancient civilizations. "Captain, you need to see this," Dr. Elena Vasquez called from her xenoarchaeology station. Her voice carried a mixture of wonder and disbelief that made every crew member turn their attention to her findings. "These readings suggest this construct is older than the Galactic Authority itself. We're talking about technology that predates their entire civilization by thousands of years." Rivera moved to stand behind her workstation, studying the holographic displays that showed the alien structure in detail. The thing was enormous, easily the size of a small moon, but its surface was covered in patterns and symbols that seemed to shift and change as they watched. Energy readings were off the charts, suggesting that whatever this was, it was still active after all these millennia. "Any idea what it does?" Rivera asked, though he had a feeling he already knew the answer would complicate their lives considerably. "That's the incredible part," Vasquez replied, her fingers dancing across the control interface. "From what I can determine, this appears to be some kind of massive manufacturing facility. The energy signatures suggest it's capable of creating things on a scale we can barely comprehend. Ships, weapons, entire technological systems could be produced here." Lieutenant Sarah Park at the communications station suddenly straightened. "Captain, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command. It's Admiral Chen herself." The main screen flickered to life, revealing the stern face of Admiral Sarah Chen, commander of the Terran Defense Fleet. Her expression was grim, and Rivera could see the weight of command in her eyes. Behind her, the bustling activity of the command center indicated that something significant was happening back home. "Captain Rivera," Admiral Chen began without preamble, "you need to return to human space immediately. The Galactic Authority has issued what they're calling a final ultimatum. They're demanding that humanity cease all expansion beyond the sectors they've designated for us. They want us to withdraw from 12 of our outer colonies and submit to what they call proper galactic oversight." Rivera felt his stomach drop. The colonies Admiral Chen mentioned housed over 2 million humans, including his own sister's family on New Terra. The idea of abandoning them was unthinkable. "What's our response, Admiral?" Rivera asked, though he could already see the determination in her eyes. "Our response is simple," Chen replied, her voice carrying the steel that had made her legendary throughout the fleet. "Humanity doesn't retreat, and we don't abandon our people. But I need to know what you found out there, Marcus. The Authority is claiming that zone is dangerous and off-limits for reasons they won't explain. If there's something there that changes our situation, I need to know about it now." Vasquez stepped into view of the camera, her excitement barely contained. "Admiral, we've discovered what appears to be a massive ancient manufacturing facility. The technology level is far beyond anything the Galactic Authority possesses. If we could understand it, possibly even activate it, it could change everything." The silence from the other end of the transmission stretched for several seconds. When Admiral Chen spoke again, her voice carried a new edge. "How long do you need?" "At least 72 hours to conduct proper scans and possibly attempt communication with the facility's systems," Vasquez replied quickly. "You have 48, Chen said firmly. "The Authority fleet is already mobilizing. Supreme Chancellor Crix himself is leading what they're calling a correction force toward our space. If this thing you found can help us, we need to know about it before they arrive." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Rivera looked around at his crew, seeing his own determination reflected in their faces. These weren't just explorers anymore. They were humanity's best hope for avoiding subjugation, or worse. "All right, people," Rivera announced, his voice carrying across the bridge. "We have 2 days to unlock secrets that have been hidden for thousands of years. Dr. Vasquez, I want every scanner we have focused on that structure. Engineering, prepare a shuttle for close approach. We're going to find out what makes this thing tick." Meanwhile, in the crystal spires of the Galactic Authority's capital world, Supreme Chancellor Crix stood before the assembled High Council, his four arms gesturing with barely controlled fury. The massive chamber, carved from a single piece of living crystal that amplified thoughts and emotions, resonated with his anger. "These humans," he began, his voice carrying to every corner of the vast space, "continue to demonstrate why young species require firm guidance. They have ignored our boundaries, violated sacred space, and now refuse to accept correction. This behavior cannot be tolerated." General Thoss, military commander of the Authority forces, shifted his massive bulk on the council floor. His species, the Korthak, had served as the Authority's enforcers for over 8 centuries. "Chancellor, their resistance is puzzling. Every species we have encountered eventually recognizes the wisdom of accepting our guidance. Why do these humans persist in their defiance?" "Because they are young and foolish," Crix replied dismissively. "They have been in space for less than 3 centuries. They do not understand the order that we have brought to this galaxy. They do not comprehend the chaos that existed before our authority was established." Counselor Vex, her crystalline form chiming with harmonics that indicated deep thought, raised a concern that had been troubling several council members. "Chancellor, our intelligence reports suggest that human technology has been advancing at an unprecedented rate. In the 50 years since first contact, they have made leaps that typically take centuries. Should we be concerned about their capabilities?" Crix's dismissive gesture sent ripples of condescension through the council chamber. "They have learned to copy technology from more advanced species. This is not true innovation. When faced with the full might of the Authority fleet, they will understand their place in the galactic order." Back aboard the Pioneer's Dream, Dr. Vasquez had made a breakthrough that would change the course of galactic history. The ancient structure had responded to her attempts at communication, and the results were staggering. "Captain," she called out, her voice barely containing her excitement. "The facility is not just active, it's been waiting. It's some kind of automated system left behind by a species that called themselves the Architects. They built this as a gift for whoever proved worthy of finding it." "Worthy how?" Rivera asked, moving quickly to her station. "By refusing to submit to tyranny," Vasquez replied, her eyes wide with wonder. "The Architects built this after their own encounter with an empire that demanded submission. They created this facility as a tool for future species who would choose freedom over security, independence over protection." The implications hit Rivera like a physical blow. "Can we use it?" The implications hit Rivera like a physical blow. "Can we use it?" "That's the beautiful part," Vasquez said, her fingers flying over the control interface. "The system is designed to interface with the neural patterns and technological signatures of the species that activates it. It will produce equipment and vessels specifically adapted to our needs, our way of thinking, our methods of warfare." At that moment, Lieutenant Park's communication station lit up with an incoming message from the Galactic Authority. The face that appeared on screen was not one they recognized, but the uniform and ceremonial markings made it clear this was someone of significant rank. "Human vessel," the alien said, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "You are in violation of Galactic Authority Decree 2D847. You will immediately withdraw from Forbidden Zone 7 and surrender all data collected during your illegal incursion. Failure to comply within 6 hours will result in your destruction and the immediate military correction of your home system." Rivera looked around his bridge, seeing the same determination in every face that he felt burning in his own chest. Humanity had come too far to back down now. "Dr. Vasquez," he said quietly, "how quickly can this facility produce what we need?" "If I'm reading this correctly," she replied, her voice filled with awe, "it can create an entire fleet in less than 12 hours. Ships designed specifically to counter the Authority's technology and tactics." Rivera activated the communication system, knowing that his next words would either save humanity or doom it. "Galactic Authority vessel, this is Captain Marcus Rivera of the Terran exploration ship Pioneer's Dream. We reject your ultimatum. This facility belongs to no one and everyone. We will not be withdrawing." The silence that followed lasted exactly 17 seconds. Then the Authority vessel's weapon systems came online, and the first shots of a war that would reshape the galaxy were fired. But humanity was done running, done hiding, and done accepting that their place in the galaxy was whatever more powerful species decided it should be. In the depths of space, an ancient facility began to hum with purpose, ready to arm a species that had just chosen freedom over survival. The galaxy would never be the same. When humans show their true nature. 6 days after Captain Rivera's defiant message, the Battle of Kepler Station began with what Galactic Authority records would later describe as impossible human tactics. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the newly christened flagship Defiant Dawn, watching as her fleet of 37 vessels prepared to face down the Authority's correction force of over 200 ships. The vessels surrounding her were unlike anything that had ever existed in the galaxy. The ancient architect facility had worked with human engineers to create ships that were part technology, part intuition, and entirely focused on one purpose, proving that freedom was worth fighting for. Each ship bore the sleek lines of human design philosophy, but incorporated energy systems and weapons that operated on principles the Authority had never encountered. Admiral, called Commander Lisa Park from the tactical station, Authority forces are maintaining their standard intimidation formation. They're broadcasting surrender demands on all frequencies. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Are they still offering us mercy if we submit immediately? Yes, ma'am. Supreme Chancellor Crix is personally guaranteeing that only our military leadership will be executed if we surrender now. The rest of humanity will be relocated to supervised worlds. How generous, Chen replied dryly. Signal all ships. Begin Operation Architect. Its gift. The human fleet moved in a pattern that defied every tactical doctrine the Authority had developed over 1,000 years of galactic dominance. Instead of forming defensive lines or attempting to match the Authority's superior numbers through conventional tactics, the human ships scattered in what appeared to be complete chaos. General Thoss, commanding the Authority forces from his flagship Eternal Dominion, watched the human fleet's movement with growing confusion. His tactical computers were unable to predict any logical objective for their seemingly random positioning. Analysis, he demanded from his strategy council. General, replied Tactical Coordinator Vex, her crystalline form resonating with uncertainty. Their positioning makes no strategic sense. They appear to be spreading their forces to maximize their vulnerability to concentrated fire. Supreme Chancellor Crix, observing from his position on the bridge, gestured dismissively. They are panicking. Young species often react irrationally when faced with overwhelming force. Begin the correction. Target their flagship first. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for generations to come. As the Authority forces began their attack run, the scattered human vessels suddenly revealed the true nature of their positioning. Each ship activated what their crews had nicknamed Ghost Protocols, utilizing technology derived from the Architect facility that made them appear to exist in multiple locations simultaneously. The Authority's targeting systems, designed to track conventional ships moving through normal space, suddenly found themselves trying to lock onto hundreds of false targets. Their precisely coordinated attack devolved into chaos as their weapons struck empty space while the real human vessels maneuvered behind their lines. Captain Marcus Rivera, now commanding the Architect's Pride, watched as his ship's weapon systems came online. The facility had equipped each human vessel with adaptive weaponry that analyzed enemy defenses in real time and adjusted their output to exploit weaknesses. Target the Authority command ship, Rivera ordered. Let's show them what human ingenuity looks like when we stop playing by their rules. The beam that struck the Eternal Dominion was unlike anything the Authority had experienced in centuries of warfare. Instead of attempting to overwhelm their shields through brute force, the human weapons seemed to find gaps in their defenses that shouldn't have existed, striking directly at critical systems. General Thoss felt his massive ship shudder under the impact, alarms blaring throughout the bridge as systems began failing in cascade patterns. "Impossible," he growled, his forearms working frantically at control interfaces. "Their weapons are inferior. Their technology is primitive." "General," Tactical Coordinator Vex reported, her harmonic voice carrying notes of fear. "Their weapons are adapting. Each shot is more effective than the last. They're learning our defensive patterns faster than we can adjust them." Across the battlefield, the same scenario was playing out on dozens of Authority vessels. The humans weren't just fighting with superior technology, they were fighting with a completely different understanding of warfare itself. Where the Authority relied on overwhelming force and established tactics, humans embraced improvisation, adaptation, and what their crews called creative destruction. Dr. Elena Vasquez, now serving as Admiral Chen's science advisor aboard the Defiant Dawn, monitored the ancient facility's continued output. The architects hadn't just left behind a manufacturing system, they had created a learning network that grew more sophisticated with each engagement. "Admiral," she reported, her voice filled with excitement, "the facility is updating our ships in real time based on battle data. Every tactic the Authority uses is being analyzed and countered. We're not just fighting them, we're evolving faster than they can adapt." Supreme Chancellor Crix watched in growing horror as his correction force began to retreat for the first time in Authority history. Ship after ship reported critical damage from weapons that seemed to anticipate their every defensive move. The impossible was happening. A young species with inferior numbers was defeating the military might that had dominated the galaxy for a millennium. "All ships," he commanded, his voice carrying barely controlled panic. "Withdraw to safe distance. Prepare orbital bombardment protocols. If we cannot defeat their fleet, we will make an example of their colonies." But Admiral Chen had anticipated this moment. As the Authority forces began to retreat, she activated the second phase of Operation Architect's Gift. The ancient facility had created more than just warships. It had produced something that would fundamentally alter the balance of power in the galaxy. "All ships," Chen broadcasted across both human and Authority frequencies, "activate the beacon protocol." Every human vessel simultaneously released what appeared to be small, innocuous devices that spread throughout the system faster than the eye could follow. Within minutes, they had seeded the entire region with what Dr. Vasquez had termed freedom signals. The effect was immediate and devastating to Authority control. Across their empire, on worlds where subjugated species had accepted protection for generations, the beacons carried a simple message. Resistance was possible. The signals contained technical specifications, tactical data, and most importantly, proof that the Authority could be defeated. On the mining world of Kepler-7, the Zephyrian work crews stopped their excavation and looked up at the sky for the first time in decades. On the agricultural planet of Harvest Prime, the Maltani farmers put down their tools and began to remember what freedom felt like. Throughout Authority space, species that had forgotten they had choices began to make new ones. General Thoss received the reports in stunned silence as uprisings began on 17 worlds simultaneously. "Chancellor," he reported, his voice heavy with implications, "we have a galactic situation. The humans' defeat of our forces was broadcast across our communication networks. Species throughout the Empire are demanding independence." Supreme Chancellor Crix stood in his command chamber, watching his 1,000-year empire begin to crumble in the span of a single day. The crystal spires of his capital world, which had amplified Authority thoughts and emotions for centuries, now resonated with something they had never experienced: doubt. "How many ships can we deploy to suppress these uprisings?" he asked, though he already knew the answer would be insufficient. "Even with our full fleet," General Thoss replied heavily, "we cannot be everywhere at once. The humans have taught these species something we spent centuries making them forget, that superior technology and numbers mean nothing if your enemy refuses to surrender." Back at Kepler Station, Admiral Chen stood before a communication array that connected her to the leaders of dozens of species across the galaxy. For the first time in Authority history, a multi-species alliance was forming not under the banner of protection, but under the banner of freedom. Today, she addressed the assembled representatives. Humanity proved that no species has to accept subjugation, no matter how powerful their oppressors claim to be. The architects left us more than technology. They left us a reminder that freedom is not something that can be given or taken away. It's something that exists in the hearts of those brave enough to fight for it. Captain Rivera, his ship still bearing the scars of humanity's first galactic victory, activated his personal log for what he knew would be a historic entry. Personal log, Captain Marcus Rivera. Today, humanity went to war for the first time as a galactic species, and we discovered something about ourselves that maybe we always knew but had never proven. We don't just fight to win, we fight to show others that winning is possible. The Galactic Authority thought they were facing 37 ships. What they actually faced was the collective will of every species in the galaxy that had ever dreamed of freedom. As the human fleet took position around the liberated Kepler station, now serving as the headquarters of what would become known as the Free Galaxy Alliance, Dr. Vasquez made one final discovery in the architect ruins. Hidden in the deepest sections of the ancient facility was a message, waiting for the species that would prove worthy of its gift. To those who find this message, the translation read, know that you are not the first to face the choice between security and freedom, and you will not be the last. We, the architects, faced our own empire of protection and chose to resist. We leave you this gift not because you need our technology to win, but because the galaxy needs to remember that every species has the right to choose its own path among the stars. Use what we have given you wisely, and remember, freedom shared is freedom multiplied. The galaxy would never be the same. In the space of a single week, humanity had gone from a minor species, accepting the boundaries set by their betters, to the catalyst for a galactic revolution. The Authority still controlled vast territories and possessed massive fleets, but their most powerful weapon, the belief that resistance was futile, had been shattered forever. As Admiral Chen looked out at the stars, she knew this was only the beginning. The war for galactic freedom would be long and costly, but humanity had proven something that would echo across the cosmos for generations to come. Sometimes, the greatest victory is not in conquering your enemies, but in showing others that they can conquer themselves. The age of unquestioned authority was over. The age of earned respect had begun.